G'day, this is Captainoob and this is the Wasp. This is a somewhat customizable standalone energy weapon that uses the 44 Magnum animations. That's the hammer right there. It contains a bunch of different ammo types for you to attach to this thing for various levels of destruction and fun. So going over all of these attachments, first of all we've got the cryo cell mod, which will kind of make it like a mini cryolator. It'll fire in an automatic fashion, which means bumping the hammer down like a cowboy when you fire it. And yes, I'm going to be using all of these weapon mods in the gameplay, so I've created I think 10 of these, and that'll cover all of these. And the cryo grenade fires projectiles that are not exactly hit scan, but they do move quickly and they don't arc, so that's just a cryo grenade explosion. Gamma capacitors make this thing fire like a gamma gun, obviously very, very strong on the radiation damage and also explosive damage, so watch out for that if you're shooting it at your feet. You've also got a micro fusion cell thing, which will make it fire basic laser bolts. There's not much to say about this one other than its damage is kind of lame, and same with the fusion core one. You get a little bit more damage out of it, but this one is also sort of lame, but I will be testing these just to see. You've got the Nuke Grenade, which is the same thing as the cryo grenade except a nuclear explosion at the end of it. The Palladium Core, I don't really know what that's called, but that's going to be the most overpowered one. I've only got 12 of those cores, so I use those things sparingly, but as you can tell, that is wildly overpowered. It's also got a funny little description here. Pause if you want to read that. Plasma cell will fire plasma bolts that you get out of the vanilla game. Plasma guns, plasma grenades, that's sort of self-explanatory, just fires a projectile, explodes like a plasma grenade. You've also got pulse grenades, same thing except pulse grenade explosions, and that is it for the different types of bullets. We're going to leave this one as the fusion cell, and you can increase the damage ever so slightly more if you chuck on the long-cooled amplified barrel. This thing actually kind of looks dangerous to use. Touch it in the wrong spot and you'll be electrocuted, I reckon. You can also add some sights if you want, a small telescope, which kind of looks like a reflex sight. I wonder if that's actually made out of any lenses or if that'll zoom in at all. Maybe. We've also got a reflex sight there, which actually has a fusion cell on top of that to actually make that a thing, make that powered. But we'll go for a small telescope on this one, and you can change the grip from a pipe small grip to a bladed grip, which I guess gives you a little bit more of the bash damage, which is going to be sort of useful, I suppose. And a legendary effect is there if you need it. I'm going to go around creating 10 of these bad boys with different barrels and different varying attachments, and I'll see you in a bit. Acquiring this weapon and its ammo is easy as gathering supplies and making it out of bits of ammo that you might find out in the wasteland. A lot of this stuff is made from nuclear material too, so be sure to pick up any of that you see, and you can create the Wasp using a 44 Magnum and some components as well as all of the ammo. Typically the explosive ones, you got to make them out of actual grenades of those variants, so going over and making them in the explosives thing is a good idea. So a lot of farming of materials will have to actually go into this, but if you've just got a cheap profile like me made for making the weapons as they are just for testing purposes, then you'll have no problem. Alrighty, so here we are with all of our different mods on our little Wasp weapon. This one is going to be our starter. So this one's using the modified cryo cells, which will fire cryolator-like projectiles, but on a 44 Magnum, the cryolator needs to be automatic. So you've got this rare instance where modders actually use this in the game animation, where you actually bump down the hammer. This is like what happens when you make revolvers automatic, by the way. You sort of do that. This is in the game, and you can tell why you can't use it, because there's a lot of recoil involved with this animation, and it's a real pain in the ass to keep accurate. Fortunately, you can use it in VATS to pretty good effect, since weapons that are automatic fire and burst in VATS, yeah, that's what happens in VATS, and if you imagine that on a revolver, that's pretty overpowering, so that's probably why that never came to fruition. Anyway, so we'll move on. We're playing this like Gunmaster, 2 kills with each weapon, and then we'll move on to the next. So this one has that kooky looking scope on the top, and it's got the cryo projectiles there, and as you can tell, it does slow people down. I killed 3 people with that, but that's fine. Moving on to the fusion cell one, there's not a whole lot going on with this one either. It's just firing standard laser beams, and you've got the recoil of the 44 Magnum here, so honestly this one you might as well give it a miss. So I'm going to be popping a lot of stim packs here because there's no way I can survive the ferocity of these gunners armed with one of these things. Like, even with a critical there, it's doing subpar damage. Fortunately, you don't have to pull the hammer back every time you fire the thing, so you can actually go up nice and close and spam fire this if you want to, but honestly the camera's going up and down so fast that you can't really tell what you're aiming at anyway, so honestly give the fusion cell one a miss. And same thing for the not this one though, this is the gamma round one. Since you're standing there, I'll probably just shoot you through that. fine. So this is going to be very, very lethal to your human enemies, less so against, what's an anti-material rifle, less so against any other enemies, situationally useful. But moving on to the Fusion Core mod, this one has a cool art effect to it. It's almost like a Gauss rifle, and it's also got a cool sounding effect. But I'm not convinced. The recoil and the bumping up of your camera every time you fire this weapon mixed with the low damage makes this thing very, very painful to use. It's another one of those weapons that you ought to use in VATS all the time. It does have a little nice Gauss explosion projectile thing, so I guess they combined fusion cores with Gauss guns to make it a single element, but none of the damage of the Gauss rifles or the ammo capacity of the Gatling laser, the best parts, have really shone through. Anyway, this is the Nuke Grenade mod. It's kind of like a mini Fat Man, to be honest, so yeah, you fire it and there's a nuclear explosion at the end of it. And that'll clear that one out. And this is the Palladium Core or whatever. This one fires a big spirally projectile. It's also got some idle noise to it, so you know there's a little bit of power behind this one. I'll let you have a look at this projectile whilst flying through the air. There it is again. It's a big swirly ball of death. It's actually kind of cool. Also, this thing feels really unstable to use. I'm not really comfortable with using this weapon. I feel like it's going to kill me. Anyways, this is the plasma cell, so it should be firing plasma bolts, just like you'd find out of a plasma gun. And same thing, really. It is hit scan, which is helpful usually. Oh, yes, also that thing still happens where you pull the trigger too fast, it stops firing. But another thing to give a miss. This one is entirely fucking useless, to be honest. Sure, the damage is okay, and it is a hit scan weapon, but honestly, with damage like that, you kind of need it to be a little bit more controllable to actually harness that. Anyways, here's a plasma grenade one, with a scope for no particularly good reason. Shoots a nice big old projectile, kind of like a BFG. It might even be better looking than the BFG. And then I killed myself with it. That's obviously a risk of these weapons, yes. Alright, we almost came full circle. The only thing we had left to show off was the pulse grenade. And let's have a look at this. It's also got a cool idle noise to it as well. We'll just fire it over there. Plenty of numbers going up, obviously better against robots, but against humans it does a fairly decent amount of damage, I guess. Nothing to really write home about. So, yep, we've seen all of the different projectiles. Let's just go for performance now, and obviously the Palladium Core. I'm probably pronounced that wrong. This is going to be the most powerful, so let's make the best use out of this thing. We'll just fire it in every single direction we possibly can think of to get the kills, and then we'll continue. Let's crit this gunner. Let's see how it goes with a critical strike. There's a nice view of that projectile coming in. Definitely a very overpowered projectile there. So, in terms of endgame viability, obviously this is going to make it, but I think the main sort of limiting factor for this weapon and use of this weapon is going to be crafting its ammo. So honestly, the best way to use this mod in my eyes is to keep this thing around when shit hits the fan and you need to kill a big scary monster in a really, really quick fashion. Also, I can't sprint for some reason. See, a couple more gunners down there. We'll take out the middle one, see if we can't get some splash damage to kill them all. Make it a critical to add insult to injury, and that'll clear them out nice and easily. Damn it, it'd be satisfying if I hit that guy on the way down. Alright, we'll fire one over there. We'll just try to guess where they are. Probably not the best idea to fire it there, though. It's kind of a waste. Oh, there are people on the other side of Gunner's Plaza. That's okay.
Yes.
Opening this thing up here, we'll fire a big old thing in there. That definitely cleans all those blokes up in one shot. As for these people, I'll splash some damage through the doors, apparently. And that one will back away so I don't die from my own explosions there. And I think that is Immersive Gunner's Plaza cleared out with what is possibly one of the most overpowered weapons I've ever used, but I guess that was worth it for the funsies, right? Okay, we'll turn it down a bit and we'll take on some monsters. Alrighty, so there's Swan standing over there like a big dummy, and for some reason I've triggered some sort of glitch which makes the ground change color and also has like a caution pattern when I walk near it. It's really weird. Let's just ignore that. So Swan's over there taking on a glowing Mirelurk. Let's kill him first, and then we'll use the remainder of our action points to take out Swan. Critical time. Yep, this'll do the job. Definitely something you could do for the end game here. Just have this pistol on hand whenever you run into a foe that is just too powerful. Although, it's bordering on cheat weapon with its level of overpoweredness. But if you're fine with this sorts of stuff, you've played through the game multiple times, perhaps you're on console, or... No, hang on, I don't think this is on console, but maybe you've got all the achievements on Steam and you just want to mess around, have a playthrough. Maybe you've added mods which make the creatures even more tough. You could use this thing. Did I just miss with that? I think I did too. That's fine. It might be nice to just use this to take on giant monsters, such as Swan over here. Also, the ground pattern changing is an ultra distracting thing. And also, I saw his health bar above me then, so that was a little bit too close. Alright, we'll go for some more Swan shots in the head. We'll shoot him in the face. In the face head. In comes a mysterious stranger to do less damage than I would. Flex my damage on you, mysterious stranger. We'll shoot Swan with a little bit of hip fire. Having the 2 rounds per magazine is definitely slowing me down a little bit, but now he's kind of stuck there throwing rocks at me. That rock exploded on that tree. Thank you, tree. Anyways, I think that is it. I keep hearing a bear screaming. Is this weapon making that noise? It is a likely cause, but yep. That's it again, Swan. But we can do better. We can make a more powerful weapon. There's another bear screaming. I'm putting this thing away. It's making bear sounds and I don't like it. Speaking of bears... Okay, I've just received word from Winter that she's sitting up on top of one of those buildings. She wants a good fireworks display. So we shall deliver. At least we shall try to. By killing these bears with our Palladium receiver looking thing. In comes a projectile. Big old explosion comes in, knocks him down, which is interesting. I didn't realize this thing had any knockdown to it. We'll go for a critical. I'm just spamming spacebar in case we get those criticals. Bears go flying everywhere. That one just got supercharged thanks to being in slow motion for a bit. And we'll continue to fire down. Is he stuck in those trees? He might be stuck in those trees. Alright, more bat shots I think is a nice way to finish that guy off. Although he's taking cover behind a dead truck, so you know he's playing this smart as you can whilst you're up against a super overpowered explosive weapon like this. But you know, it's okay. He deserves it. He's a bad bear. Okay, that's a little bit too close. I'm reminded to wear welding goggles when you're using this thing because that's potentially super blinding. Also, we'll just quickly get away from him so we don't kill ourselves due to splash damage. 1 more should do it. 2 more should do it, in fact. Hope Winter was watching, because that was quite the fireworks display to see. Now I'm going to get my eyes fixed. Can you inject stim packs into your eyes to repair them quicker? Also, this thing has a very loud idle noise, but... You know what, I think you get the point of this weapon. It's a lot of fun whilst using it in the overpowered things with the grenade, projectile things, but other than that, the other projectiles are more tame ones under very hard difficulty against endgame creatures or other human NPCs isn't really going to cut it. So having a fun, explosive, super overpowered weapon for an endgame for when you really need it or just want to screw around with super overpowered weapons, then this is the mod for you. So if you'd like to see this thing in your game, check out the description. There'll be more from this mod author coming soon as well. Thank you for watching, guys.